Go.
Hi, it's Monica Braxton, aka the Needle Arts Goddess. Today we're going to be talking about odd count peyote. And this actually video is for our class on our Chatsy site April 9th, 2015 at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't been invited to the class yet, what you can do is you can email me at nags3153@gmail.com, or you can go on to our Facebook page, Crafters Unite to Change the World. I'll have this video posted there. I'll also have the pattern posted there and an alternate pattern. If you go onto the Facebook page, just send me a private message with your email address and I'll send you an invitation to the page. Or, no, sorry, to the class. So today the first thing we're going to do is we're going to review the pattern. If you remember last time, our pattern had our first row started on an edge and then it indented. This time our first row starts on an edge and ends on an edge. Our second row starts indented and ends indented. And with odd count peyote, that's pretty much the same thing for every pattern. The even numbers are going to be indented. The odd numbers are going to start and end on the edges. So the first thing that we want to do with our odd count peyote is we want to go ahead and load our first 2 rows of beads. Because this pattern is symmetrical, you can start at either end of the pattern. Start this one loading with the first row and then the second row. At even count, you start with the second row, then the first row, and you keep on going. Now, go ahead and load the first rows, A, B, A, E, E, so on, to the end. Now, I've already done that for us. And what I've also done is I've already worked through row 5. What I want to show is when you're working the row, you see here I've got the first row, second row, third row, fourth row, fifth row. The odd numbers on the outside here, the even numbered rows are on the inside. When you go up through the edge here to put the last bead of the odd count row on, there's really nothing to secure it to. It just hangs loose. So what you want to do is take your needle and you're going to go back through the previous row, the previous odd count row, the last bead. Alright, it's a little tight here. And you're going to have this problem if you're doing single count peyote, or single needle peyote rather. It's a little bit tight, working your needle through there. There it goes. And once again, I also want to remind you that row 3, like we talked about last time, it's still going to be the hardest row to do. But here we go, we've got the fifth row bead on, but our needle's coming out the wrong side and the wrong bead. So what we have to do is, or our thread rather, is coming out the wrong bead. So what we have to do is we do a U-turn, what we call a U-turn. Some people call it a figure 8. I call it a U-turn. What you want to do is take your needle and go down through the last stitch of the even count row previous. Again, it's a little stiff, a little tricky. Get that needle through there. Right, you see, if I'm having difficulty, you will too. Okay, so don't get frustrated if you have a little difficulty getting the needle through there. It's normal. Alright, then now the next thing you want to do is you want to go through the last odd count row, the second to last bead. You can bend your work if you need to, just to get the needle in there. And to be honest with you, the thinner the needle, the easier it's going to be to go through, but also the thinner the needle, the more the needle's going to bend. I'm using a size 11 needle, kind of my favorite. You don't want to go anything larger than a 10, anything smaller than a 12. Okay, so now we've got the needle, the thread here. We need it to come out the bottom of this bead right here. So this is where our U-turn comes in. We're going to go back through the second to last bead of the last odd count row, the one you just finished. We're going to go back up again through the last bead of the even count row. and once again the last bead of the previous odd count row. So at this point it's got a lot of thread going through there, so it's going to be a little difficult. Okay, and then this is the part where we get to start our working location. We take our needle, we go back down through the last bead of the last odd count row that we worked, and now we're ready to go ahead and work the next even count row. So our needle is in the same location, or the correct location rather. Now this is a good method, but the one thing that you have to keep in mind when you're doing the odd count with a single needle is there's going to be a lot of thread buildup on this end of the piece. This end it just goes smooth because it's correct. It's easy to go through that way. But on the beginning side, it's always going to have a little bit of thread buildup. If you have a problem with that, you're going to love the two needle odd count peyote method. It's also the two needle saves a little bit of thread. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and set this piece aside, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you the two needle count. A two needle method. What you're going to do is you're going to load a needle on each end of the thread. You want to do about a wingspan of thread, and that's from fingertip to fingertip, stretched all the way out, and then about another half of a wingspan. It's not going to be a whole lot of thread, because if you notice, you're going to double it up, and you're not going to be working with a whole lot of thread. You're doubling it up, and so it's going to be a little shorter. So what you have is you have a passive needle, and a working needle. At this point, you go ahead and park your passive needle once you've got both needles threaded, and then you take your working needle and you thread your beads on. Again, you can start from either end of the pattern because this particular one is symmetrical. So I've already loaded these beads on just to show you that. And again, I've already worked through the third row, the end of the third row on the double needle method. So here what I've got, I'm going to go ahead and park my passive needle. I've got my working needle, and I'm at the last stitch. And it looks like this. So you've got your whole row done, and you've got this thread hanging out here. You're going to park your working needle where your passive needle was. You're going to take your passive needle, and that's now going to become your working needle. Your working needle is now your passive needle. I'm going to take your working needle and go down through that last bead on the last row that you did, on the last odd count row you did. And if you'll see, your thread is now in working position. And you'll do this every 2 rows. You'll use this needle, you'll go down row 4, come back up row 5, park your working needle, pick up your passive needle, and continue on. One of the things I love about this is you don't have to do the U-turn. So pretty much that's our 2 needle method. If you have any questions, you can please email me before the class. Once again, nags3153@gmail.com. You can message me on Facebook. My Facebook name is Monica Ohana Braxton. You can private message me there. Other than that, there's really nothing else that we need to discuss today. Again, our class is April 9th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We try to limit the class to about an hour. Last time it was about 2.5 to 3 hours. A lot of information. Please try to be on time. There's a lot of information that's given, and if you're late to class, then you're going to miss it. You're going to have to go back and read the entire class to catch up on that information. Again, my name is Monica Braxton. I thank you so much for being with me today, and I'll see you on the 9th.